All right, welcome back. You have just heard Emily talk about form utility and other things such as that. Now we're going to talk about the functions and the activities of the channel intermediaries. There's really two types of channel intermediaries. One is a merchant wholesaler, the other one is an agent or broker. Here's the difference. A merchant wholesaler takes title of the product. So a merchant wholesaler would be a retailer or a wholesaler or somebody who buys the product and then resells it. An agent or broker is just the opposite. They do not take title of the product. They just bring buyer and seller together. For instance, think about a real estate agent. They don't buy the house first and then sell it. Somebody's selling their house, they bring a buyer and seller together, and that's how they facilitate the purchase. Brokers, think about a stockbroker, the same thing. They don't buy the stock and then sell it to their clients. What happens is they bring the seller and the buyer together. So the channel functions and activities, really channel intermediaries are done really, you choose your channel intermediary by the different product characteristics, different buyer considerations, and different market characteristics. Product characteristics, first of all, being probably the number one. It would be infeasible for a real estate broker or a real estate agent to buy the house first and then resell it. No one would want to do that. Therefore, the product considerations and the buyer considerations lend itself better for a real estate broker to be just that, a broker. So let's talk about retailers. Retailers are probably the most familiar distribution channel that you guys are familiar with. The number one retailer in the world is Alibaba out of China. The number one brick and mortar retailer in the world is Walmart. The number two retailer in the world is Amazon. Again, because most people are going online. Retailers simplify the distribution by offering many brands and many choices in one location. They make an assortment of goods available, etc. So they have both transactional functions, which make it easier to purchase, logistical functions, which makes all the places in one spot so you can purchase it, and then also facilitating functions. Many of your retailers have financing functions. They also have service functions. For instance, most car dealerships these days have financing functions, and so that's another function performed by a channel intermediary or a retailer. So if you look at this chart right here, this really gives you a visual of why retailers are important. If you look, if all of the different computer systems had just one store, then consumers would have to go to all these different stores. By having all of them at Best Buy, consumers can go just to Best Buy and choose the best product. So really, the channel intermediaries make purchasing easier and better to work for the consumer. I'm trying to keep myself out of the way so you can see the slides fully. So channel structures, there's all kinds of different channel structures. There is direct to consumer, there's different wholesalers and retailers and resellers. If you look at this particular slide, this is a visual of what I'm trying to talk to. There's really and let me move myself out of the way again. There is really the direct channel, which is producers to consumers. That would be like a farm market or a microbrewery where they're brewing the beer on site and they're selling it right to the consumers. Then you have the retail channel. It goes from producer to retailer to consumer. A lot of your produce is just that. It's grown on a farm and then it's shipped to Wegmans. You buy it from Wegmans. Most dry goods and most clothes go from producer to a wholesaler to retailer to consumer, even if the wholesaler is part of Wegmans. So if you look at most dry goods like your macaroni and cheese and your canned goods and things like that, it goes from the producer, say Kraft, go to a wholesaler, which would be Wegmans wholesaler, then to the retail store, and then consumers. And then finally, the last one, and you don't see this very much, is it goes from a producer to an agent or broker, then to a wholesaler, a retailer, or consumers. Many of your specialty, high-end specialty products are sold this way. Perfumes, for instance. Someone makes a perfume, an agent or broker sells that perfume to a wholesaler, then to a retailer, then to the consumer. High-end hair care products oftentimes will do that, and other things like that. So channels for business and industrial products are just about the same. This slide here says that it's producer to industrial user, producer to government user, producer to distributor to industrial user, and so on and so forth. The difference is channels for business and industrial products, they use more agents and brokers for that than does the retail type of industry. Alternative channels, well, there's dual channels, which are more than one channel to get to consumer. A dual channel would be, say, a computer system. They're sold retail, and they're also sold online by their own. Like, for instance, Dell sells their computers to Best Buy. They also sell it online, so that would be a dual channel. Non-traditional channels, that would be non-physical channels, such as door-to-door or vending. And then strategic alliance channels, where you have cooperative agreements between businesses to use their already established distribution channel. Oftentimes you see that in agricultural produce and things like that. More alternative channel, I want to talk about one in this particular slide that talks about the gray market. The gray market is a channel where it is a non-authorized distribution channel. Let me give you an example. Suppose guns is the best example I can think of for gray market. So someone buys a whole bunch of guns. They're going to ship those guns to a friend. Let's say they buy Winchesters or an American-made gun. They're going to ship those guns to a friendly country. So they're going to ship it to, say, somebody like the United Kingdom or Germany or somebody who's friendly. A diverter picks up those guns and sells it to a particular non-friendly country. That's a gray market. It's an unauthorized distribution. Another thing is oftentimes medical is gray market. It's not illegal, it's just not authorized. The difference between gray market and black market, you need to know this because you're going to be tested on this. The difference between gray market and black market is that gray market is unauthorized, black market is illegal. Drugs are on a black market. That is a black market channel. Gray market is once you sell it to somebody, you don't know who they're going to sell it to. So they buy it legally. They buy those guns legally, but instead of selling it to a friendly country, a non-friendly country might outbid them, and so they send it to them. It's unauthorized, but it's not illegal because that person had the right to buy and sell those guns. Digital channels, we know all about those. The bell cow for that is Amazon. M-commerce is the mobile commerce, which most of you guys use. I know my son buys most of his things through Amazon on his phone. It enables you to use consumer devices, etc., in order to shop. Levels of distribution intensity. You have intensive distribution, selective distribution, and exclusive distribution. Intensive distribution would be like a Nike, would be like a Champion, some type of those. Intensive distribution would be macaroni and cheese, Kraft macaroni and cheese. Everybody has it. Selective distribution would be where only a few stores have it. Some of your higher end clothes are only sold at, say, Macy's and Nordstrom. Some of your lower end clothes, like Starter, is only sold at a couple of stores. And then finally, you've got exclusive distribution where only one stores it. I guess Starter, that would be a good one because only Walmart sells Starter brand. That would be exclusive distribution. So those are your levels of distribution intensity. There's a lot of different emerging distribution structures out there. Because of rapid changes in technology, more and more people are doing m-commerce and e-commerce and different channels that way. Structures involve renting items that are only sold to end customers. For instance, rent-to-own stores and other things are also an emerging type of distribution structure. The other thing that's emerging and becoming even more popular than buying is leasing, especially for automobiles. That pretty much takes care of the chapter 13 on supply chain. Again, I'm not a big supply chain type of person. I'd rather be out talking to customers than trying to get products to them, but that's just me. Hopefully you learned something, and we'll see you again in chapter 14.